So they go in, and the doctor starts walking up to the counter. The server says, no, get on the end of the line. Up here, you're not anything special. Just that moment, somebody comes in white scrubs with the mirror on his head, stethoscope around his neck, and walk right to the front of the line. They feed him. He says, I thought you said nobody's special here. That's the Rabbeinu Shalom. Sometimes he likes to play doctor.
Come next morning, it's here.
Sometimes he
likes to play doctor. Your doctors try to play God. He tries to play doctor. So what happened to the Shraga Five?
Went back to New York.
He went back to New York?
They put a bid on an apartment.
I know that. He got
in the meantime, he has to close up an apartment that his wife had in California.
I'm sitting here with a note for him.
And he closed up an apartment in New York.
Okay.
You don't even know where he is.
Well, he's in Guilford, if he's here. Wow. That's where he rented.
Okay.
All right. So he's not
Sid,
around.
do we need to continue reciting for Adina Naomi Bas? Do we need to continue mentioning her name, your granddaughter?
No.
Okay. All right.
Gemara.
Well, let's get to the sponsors first. Okay.
Ruvain's picking up his daughter.
Yeah. That's right. That's good. Okay. We'll begin with our learning sponsors, friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Hasna Bad Yitzchak Aharon, many friends of Stephen Vigdor, Lezech Nishmat Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha, year of learning in memory by Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. A month of learning by Gary and Evelyn. Okay. Gary and Marsha Schrager in memory of his parents, Freda Bas Hendel and David Ben Yosef. Marsha Federbush in memory of her husband, Oriel Pinchas Ben Arav Shimon. Andrea and David Dolney in memory of her father, Tzvi Herschel Hillel Ben Abraham. Dov Budlander in memory of his mother, Bela Devasha. Bas Harav Dov Beresh, his father, Tzvi Ben Yaakov Yitzchak, his mother-in-law, Atla Chaya Bas Avram Yosef, and his father-in-law, Yehuda Tzvi Ben David Nachum. We have a week of learning by Vicky Rabinovich Fish and Larry Fish in memory of her father, Chaim Zusia Ben Shlomo Ben Sion, and her mother, Ita Bat Tzvi, and his father, Avram David Ben Shlomo Raphael. Donna Goldstein in memory of her father, Arya Yehuda Ben Moshe Shmuel. Okay, and those have actually have ended. Okay. And Michael and Judy Koretsky in memory of his father, Gershon Ben Chaim Tzvi. Then we have today is the 30th, right? So we have a day of learning by Bonnie and Henry Stamen in memory of her mother, Kila Bas Zavulun, and by Judy and Herb Jeremias in memory of her mother, Sima Sarah Batzvi Hersh. Okay, we're also keeping in mind a refuah shlema for Avram Yitzchak Ben Tova Freda Halevi, and the Bachler Moshe Reuven Ben Sima Tebela, as well as Peretz Semach Ben Yaakov Yitzchak. We want to include Abe Krause in there, and Evelyn Blachor. May Neshamas have an aliyah, crank Rafir, Belt Yashir, Shemetz Leah, Achol B'nai Yisrael, a good gebench job.
Amen.
Okay. Reuven, you said it's not going to be.
She's not going to be here or Zoom.
Right. Well, I see that. Harvey is on Zoom this morning, and Reuven is not. Otherwise, I would have it marked on my phone that it's the two of them. Okay.
It tells you who's on?
Yeah.
Wow. Very high tech.
Okay.
You can't play hooky. We're here.
All right.
No,
Okay. We are going to start this morning.
I don't turn off the computer. He doesn't know I went to bed.
Nun Dalet Amud Beis. Okay, with the Gemara. Since we included the Mishnah. Okay. Already, I think we can start there, right? Okay, so what happens? Okay, I just want to introduce something very quickly. I want to thank Marty. Yesterday, remember, we got into this story of a couple. She was from Machoza and he was from Nahardea, right? And we got talking about the fact that he recognized, okay, that I think it was Ravina, that from her accent. Okay, and Marty brought and showed me he has a map, okay, and a book and a sefer that showed that there was about 100 miles difference between.
So you were right. It's Philly to New York.
Okay, it was about, all right, that difference.
Not easy to go from those 100 miles in those days.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it was a flat.
Right. So that was why I used that as a more or less example. Okay. So we could tell. So we talked about the fact that there were different. One followed Rav, one followed Shmuel. Then we continued. We began the new parak. Okay, and basically the new parak, right, does have a machloket in it. Okay, that we're going to have to deal with, but we're going to pick up, as I said, with the Gemara. Okay, so Gemara starts off Pshita. Isn't it obvious? Mahu detema. What are you then trying to tell us?
That you can add the 100.
Okay, in other words, that question of having said at the beginning of the Mishnah that it was 200 for a Betula and 100 for Almana, Kitsuta Avdu Rabbanan. Okay, so in the Mahu Detema, what are you trying to tell us? Kitsuta Avdu Rabbanan, Shalo Levaye Shedmi She'ein Lo Kamash Malan. So the question is, the question being, was there a fixed ceiling amount that was established by the sages, okay, for the purpose of not embarrassing anyone, okay? Those who could not afford it, Kamash Malan comes to teach us, that's what he's teaching us. That wasn't the case, that it allows somebody. So the important thing I would just add as we continue is, remember we said that there were some places where they wrote what would have established the Ksuba at the Erusin, and other places where they did it at the Nesuin. And then there was a discussion, maybe it should only be done at the Nesuin, but it's possible. The Gemara therefore is telling us that those places where they set an amount at the Erusin and then could add something at the Nesuin, that was acceptable. Okay? All right, so we can go on now from there. Imrotzah lahosif. Okay, so the question is, so now given this section, Ratzah lechtovla lo katani. Okay, that if it chooses to do it, okay, to write it, it doesn't teach that. It doesn't say that he writes it in. Ela ratzah lahosif. But the language of our Mishnah is if he chooses to add. Okay, so that again supports the idea that it's a matter of choice, that there is a minimum, but there is no maximum, okay, in this case, all right? What happens? The fact that it says that or implies that conceptually, okay, says, Messiah le Rabbi Ibo Amar Rabbi Yanai. This supports the statement of Rabbi Ibo in the name of Rabbi Yanai. The Amar Rabbi Ibo Amar Rabbi Yanai, what did he say? Tanai Ketuba Kiketuba Dami. That basically this added on amount, okay, when it's done to the, what we'll call it for the moment, the minimum, basic minimum, okay, it's not an independent obligation. It's part of the same conditions as the ketubah. Why is that going to be important? We're going to see. The Gemara is going to discuss some situations. Yes, sir.
If they write the Kesubah at Erusin, and then he adds it later on in the Tsui, it still becomes part of the Kesubah.
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
So if he should die before Nisuin, well, he adds it later. He adds it on Nisuin, so he can't be.
No, he can't. I couldn't add it then at the Nisuin if he died
So, but
before.
I think what this is saying is he does not write a separate document.
Right.
For the
Okay.
extra money.
That could be.
He adds it to the
Existing
do not
document.
Write an IOU for
A separate document.
adds it
Okay.
as a
That
tonsure.
could be. Could be.
That's the implication.
That could be. I didn't see a shot with that, but that we're not negating it. Okay. All right. So, but the point Zev is asking about, okay, is valid to lead into the Gemara as we continue with the Gemara. Okay, you may have said, well, he wrote the minimum at the Erusin and added to it on the Nisuin, and now, given certain situations, which amount under, let's say, a situation of widowhood or divorce or other situations, which amount is to be paid to the woman? Do you base it then? I'm spinning a little bit Zev's question to clarify. Do we say that that minimum amount that he wrote at the Erusin is the amount she should get? Or is it the total amount, that which plus the amount that was added at the Nisuin, is that what she's going to get?
When?
That's the point, and that's the other question, at what point, right? That's, by the way, where that's where the machloket is with Rabbi Elazar. Okay, so what happens? Okay, nafka mina. Okay, what do we do? Okay, what's the practical difference here? L'mocheret, in regards to a woman who sells her ksuba. L'mochelet, to regards to a woman who we said waives or forgoes her ksuba. L'moredet, to a rebellious woman. Okay, we won't go into that in detail right now.
She simply refuses to sleep with her husband.
Well, that would be one option. Okay, Lepogemet. Okay, a pogemet is another situation where she makes certain vows. Okay, in regarding the status of her ksuba. Okay, Letovat, regarding a woman who seeks her ksuba to be paid to her. Okay, Overet al dat, or a woman who does not follow halachic principles and practices. All right. Right. And the Gemara goes on as we go to the, right? As we go to today's daf, Ulashevach, okay, or regarding the increase in property value, Ulashavua, or in regarding to some sort of vow, Ulashvi'it, all right? Or perhaps we're talking about here the kasuba as additional money, not Shavua is a vow.
Yeah, but in this, it has a specific meaning here.
Okay.
There's a box full of very expensive jewelry, and it's not there when they evaluate the estate. So the sons who are not her sons, they're his sons, say she took 200 zuz worth of stuff already from the Taltalin. We do not have to pay the kasuba. She has to swear or doesn't have to swear, depending on circumstances, that she does not have that stuff.
Okay. All right. L'shvi'it. Okay. That is, we said where the ketubah and additional money is not a no. Okay. L'chotev kol nechasav levanav, or a situation where he wrote all of his property to his sons. Legabot min hakarka, or in a situation of, again, acquiring it from the real estate, Homina Tziburit, and in regards to the fact that when it's paid, it comes paid out of the inferior quality of property. The Chozman Shehiba Beit Aviha, and basically also that it's a situation when she is still living in the household of her father, Ulektovet Banin Dichrin, or also in the situation of the document including or providing for the rights of the sons, okay, to be able to inherit the ksuba, okay? So those are all situations where we're saying that there is an important criteria here to keeping in mind that any additional monies that are added to the basic amount of matayim or mana, okay, is to be included in these discussions and these issues.
Following the Mishnah of the day, so the day is written. The other ones are not written.
They may not be written, but that was but it was Tanai based in. That's the point. It was still a Tanai based in. Okay, so what happens? Itmar.
When they do all these changes,
yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't that have a factor as whether she can get it or not?
Okay. So let's take Sid's point for a moment and say, okay, they get engaged on
Rosh Chodesh Elul.
Rosh Chodesh Elul, that's what I was thinking. All right, but the chasana does not take place.
Well, what do you mean by engaged?
They
had
a rusin as Rosh Chodesh Elul.
So they wouldn't have Nisuyin until
so they may not they may not have Nisuyin until later. That doesn't dafka have to be a year, but later on. Okay?
Usually it's
okay. Well, but that's the point being, okay. But the point is, its question being, okay, if he set up the amount of money at the Erusin date, okay, and now comes the Nisuin date, do they change the date in the Ksuba to add the additional amount of money?
If they're going to do it, yeah.
It would appear to me, I don't have any proof. I'm simply saying it would appear to me that they would have to change the date as well as the amount.
100%.
No, that's not, you know.
I'll add one more thing, okay, which has happened many times, which I've heard. They lose the ksuba. They make a new one. What date do they put into the ksuba?
The new date. The current.
That's my point. So if you're now doing the suing, that's the date they should put in at that time.
So
whether it's a daytime or nighttime,
what's the question?
Okay.
What I'm saying? So
yeah.
Therefore, that it should be based on the date what is written in the ksuba, what she should collect. That's my
These
thing.
are, we're not talking about.
I'm not saying I'm right, but
no, you are right, but that's not what we're talking about.
And I've seen this many times at Hasanas because they delayed making the suba because it was Bein HaShmosh and Hitam. All of a sudden they stopped. He rewrote a new ksuba.
Of course.
Because the original date from before.
It did not applicable at the time.
I understand what he's talking about. It has nothing to do with these cases.
Okay.
These are all special cases.
All right, Michael.
It's a special case. Do they put in the new date of the
or any contract?
Okay.
The Gemara, the halacha is no contract can either be backdated or postdated. So anytime Adim are going to sign on a document, it has to have today's date.
Thank you.
So and it has other rules too.
How does she get paid on today's date or before?
She gets paid based on the corrected date.
The day he dies.
On the correct.
The Suba date is irrelevant.
Okay, it comes from that. The text is applicable from that date. Okay, that it is written. Okay, that would be the case, right? And we saw, remember, in the Gemara, told us earlier that she doesn't actually collect the money till somebody
Well, if
is,
she wants to be supported, she doesn't collect.
right, she doesn't
And she
collect.
has 25
Or she
years
can
and a day.
demand, okay, then she can demand it from the court, but then she loses her sustenance.
And if she declines sustenance, she still has 25 years and a day to collect the ksuba. If she waits 1 minute longer,
then
it's as if she said, "I don't need it. I'll let the kids have it."
All right. Okay, let's go on. Itmar, about this, the following was said: Ktubat binan dichrin, since we referred to that. Pampadita amre, and Pampadita, they said, lo tarfa mimisha'abde. Okay, that in that case, we say you cannot take that for property that has leaned and has been sold. Okay, yartun tanan, because it's clearly written the heirs, right? B'nei mata mechasya amrei, but in mata mechasya, what do they say? Tarfa mimisha'abde, that one can take it from the liened property that was sold. Why? Sabun tanan, because they take yisbun, they take that language as the text of the operative language. Okay, v'hilchata, and what is the law? Lo tarfrom misha abde yartun tnan. Okay, that we do not take it, we don't deal with it from the liened property that was sold, because we accept the language based on yartun. Okay, that's the case. Now let's go on. Metaltale. Okay, so what about metaltalim? Vitnihu ba'anayu. Okay, so in that case, we're saying, all right, that with regards to metaltalim, movable property, okay, maybe that is acceptable when it's in its pure state.
If it's still there.
All right.
It's still a...
Right. Below Shavua. And then in that case, there would be no necessity for any kind of an oath. All right. So the Gemara then says, Litnahu be'inyanahu. So let us teach it that way in the language of the text. All right. Pampadita amre.
It's not there.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Velitnu be'anai. But if it's not there, all right. Pampadita amre, and Pampadita, they say, below Shavua. Okay, there's no need for the vow.
The woman doesn't
okay,
get her
b'nei mata machasya amre v'shvua. But in mata machasya, they say, nevertheless, a vow is needed. V'hilchata below Shavua. But the law is, there is no vow necessary. Okay, let's go on, says the Mishnah Gemara. Yeah.
Just 200 zuz, about how much was that worth? What was the value?
A couple of $100,000.
Quite a bit.
It's a lot of money. It's enough for her to live on for the rest of her life.
Well, I would disagree on that.
Come on.
That's not true.
Right.
That's not the case. It was enough. It was enough for her to comfortably live for a year.
So she could have time.
Okay. The implication would be that hopefully within that time frame, somebody would then approach her for marriage. Okay. Probably the question would be, was she a grusha or an amralata? Okay. That could have an influence on how quickly somebody would seek her in marriage. Okay.
That's a lot of money.
All right. Okay. So what happens? We go on there. Yechid la'ara ba'arba b'tzarnaha. Okay, let's assume that he designated as the source of the ksuba land that was clearly marked by all four borders. Okay, below Shavua, then there would be no vow necessary. Bechad mitzra, if the land was only marked, okay, on one side by one border. Pompadita amre below Shavua. In Pompadita, they said there was no need for a vow. B'nei Mata Mechasya Amre Bishvua. And Mata Mechasya, another argument here, they said no, a vow was necessary. V'hilchata below Shavua. And the law is no without a vow. Okay? Amar la'edim. Let's say there was a situation where they told the witnesses, kitvu, v'chatmu, havule. Okay? Right? Write it. Okay? In other words, write it, sign it, and right? And give it.
This is not a kasuba.
Right? So this is a different kind of
deathbed.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, let's say there's a document, all right, and this document is based on a man that that either he is in danger or he's on his deathbed. Okay, and he tells other individuals, okay, that he wants them to write the document for him, sign the document for him, and right as witnesses, of course, otherwise why would they sign it, and deliver the document. Okay, all right, so what happens? Kanu mine, okay, lo tzarich imluche be, okay, if they acquired it from him, okay, well, that's what means acquired, all right? What happens? They do not have to take an advisement. They don't have to consult him again, okay? Lo kanu mine, if there was no kinyan, no actual acquisition there. Pompadita amre, and Pompadita they say, lo tzarich imluchi be. They don't have to consult him again. B'nei Mata Mechasya amre, and those of Mata Mechasya say, tzarich imluchi be, that they do have to consult him again.
It could have changed his mind.
Okay, because it's possible that let's say, either if he's in danger, he's no longer in danger. Or if he was on at the time, he could have been severely ill and thought he was his deathbed, but he could have improved well enough that the situation changed. Okay, that's the point being. V'hilchata tzrich le'imluchi bei. And the law is that he does have to be consulted again. Okay, now we get to another example in the Gemara, right? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer. Remember, he said after the wedding, okay, she can collect all of the money, but after the betrothal, she can only collect what we'll call the main or the original sum.
If it was written.
Okay, all right. So that's the point. Itmar, okay. I'm not sure if the question is that it has to be written in the ksuba. Remember, we saw that it said it was a t'nai based.
Yeah, but that was a machlekes whether it's whole at the iris and
all right. So itma, it was said in the following: Rav and Rabbi Natan, the two of them. Chad amar halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. One said the law is like Rabbi ben Eliezer ben Azariah. Chad amar ein halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And the other said the law is not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Tistayim, and you can conclude perhaps as follows: the Rabbi Natan hu da amar halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That it's Rabbi Natan who holds like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Why? Because the Shema'inam le Rabbi Natan, because we've learned that Rabbi Natan holds as follows: the azil batar umdana, that we follow after an assessment of unspoken intent. That's how I'm translating umdana. Okay? In other words, the court, okay, sort of reads the person's mind almost, if you will, in that case. The Amar Rabbi Natan, as Rabbi Natan has said, halacha ka Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, the law is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, b'misukan, in a situation where a person is in danger. And also, as we go over, ubetrumat ma'aser shel demai, are also in a situation of accepting the testimony of an Am Haaretz that he has taken Trumot and Masrot, okay, in terms of something that is a status of a demise status. V'Rav lo azal batar umdana, and therefore are we saying that their machloket is that Rav does not hold by this concept of umdana, of assessment? Vaha itmar, but here we have taught and said as follows: matnat shchiv mera shekatuv ba kinyan, a situation where we have a gift of a person that's on their, I'm going to say their deathbed, so to speak, a shchiv mera, and included written into this gift is also a sale, a kinyan, an acquisition. Okay? Babei Rav Mishmei, the Rabbi Amrei, in the academy in the name of Rabbi Amrei, what happens? Arkave atre rachshe. It's like he's riding on two horses when he does that. In other words, there are two elements.
In Rav's
yeah, right, in that case. Right. Mishmei Rav Amrei, in the academy of Rav, this is what they're saying. Okay? Why? Ushmuel Amar, and Shmuel says in that scenario, okay, of the Shchiv Meirah, giving a gift which includes a kinyan, lo, right? Lo yadana mai idunba. I do not know how to render a judgment in this situation. Okay? Now, what is the issue here? Bebe Rav Mishmei de Rabbi Amrei, in the academy of Rav, as they're saying in the name of Rav, Arkive atre rachshe. What do they mean when they say he's riding on two horses? Okay, in other words, this is the bequest, okay, as a sickbed gift, right? What happens there? Okay, harehi kimatnat bari. In one way, it's like the gift of a healthy person. V'harehi kimatnat shchiv mera. And in another way, it's also like the gift of a person on their deathbed. Harehi kimatnat bari. On the one hand, it's like a gift of a healthy person. De'im amad eino yachol lachzor bo. Because if he were, I'm going to use amad here as to improve, get better in this case, he cannot take that gift back. Harehi kimatnat shchiv mera. On the other hand, it's similar to the gift of a person on their deathbed. Okay, she'im amar halveti lefloni, because were he to have said, I loaned money to such and such a person, halva'ato leploni. Okay, all right. The loan goes to so and so. Okay, u'shmuel amar, and Shmuel says, lo yadana ma'i yadunba. I am not aware, I'm not clear how I would judge this case. Shema lo gamar lahaknoto ela b'shtar. Perhaps he didn't complete the transaction, the acquisition, without a document. Ve'ein shtar la'achar mita. And we know there is no document that's viable after death. Okay, Ella, I'm going to go on a little bit, all right, till about the middle of Nun Vav. Ella travaihu azle batar umdana. But we say both of them followed after the idea of what we call that, right? The umdana. Okay, the assessment based on unspoken intent, right? Man de amar halacha, the one who said that the halacha follows that, shapir, that's fine, that's acceptable. Man de amar ein halacha, and the one who says that it's not the law, hachanami umdan da'atahu mishum ikruve da'ata. Okay, that here too he's going to say that perhaps there are scenes, situations where we might follow that assumption. Mishum ikruve data. Why? Because one is close to understanding the mindset of the person. Va'ikravale data, and he is basically indicating his mindset. So the Gemara continues. Yativ Rav Chanina. Rav Chanina was sitting, Kame de Rav Yanai, before Rav Yanai. V'ka'amar halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And he was stating that the law was like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Amar le. Okay? And so what happens? He responds to him. Okay? Now, what we do need to know here, remember, is that, okay, Rabbi Chanina was more known as a darshan in the Mikra, as opposed to I'm going to say, a keen halachist. All right? So what did he tell him? Puk kare kira'ach lebra. Go out, go tell your psukim, go give your drashas on psukim outside the base medrash. Don't start trying to cite halacha here. Okay? Ein halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The law, he's saying, is not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. What happens? The Gemara continues. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi mishum Rabbeinu. Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said in the name of Rabbeinu. Okay, it could be Rav or Rav. Right? Halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The law is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. And Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel. Okay, and remember Shmuel said before, I wasn't sure how I would decide. Halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The law is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, V'Rab Nachman, Didei Amar, and halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. But elsewhere we have Rav Nachman himself saying that the law is not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. V'Nahardai Mishmei de Rav Nachman. And in Nahardeya, sages there say in the name of Rav Nachman, Amrei, halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that the law actually is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. V'afal gav delat Rav Nachman, and even though Rav Nachman cursed basically those who said that the law was like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, v'amar kol daina de da'in, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, hachi v'hachi teharu. Okay, he said all of those judges who rule in the judgment, in the direction, of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, hachi v'hachi teharu. Such and such is going to happen to them. Okay, afilu hachi, even in that case, halacha ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, the law is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And the Gemara finishes the inyan, v'halacha lema'aseh ka Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And the law actually, in practice, is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And I think we'll pause right there, okay? Because we're going to get to a new inyan, okay? And we'll pick that up tomorrow. Okay. Okay, Harvey, take care.
Thank you.